All right, you're all set.
Okay, we're back on the record. Let's let the record reflect it's December 14th, 2020, and the board's convened to consider its docket for today. And the first active case on our docket is an elevator division case. It's case number 20-0112. It deals with the Robinson Mansion, Akron Pregnancy Service located in Akron. Let's have an introduction of the appellants, beginning with Mr. Burge and whoever else is accompanying him. State your full name, if you would, spell your last, in the capacity by which you're here in a representative way. We'll have Mr. Updike do the same. I'll have an oath administered. And we'll get started, and I'll also tell you that we're down one board member today. So we'll be a board of 4 if we proceed rather than a board of 5. Mr. Burge, would you enter your appearance?
Alan Burge, B-U-R-G-E, with Alan Burge Architecture.
Okay. Anybody with you?
Right.
It's Brian Booth, B-O-O-T-H, and I'm with Alan Burge Architecture.
Okay, and then on the list I have is Tony Troop there.
He is not.
Okay.
He's not
All right.
with us.
Okay, and Mr. Updike, would you enter your appearance, please?
Charles Updike, U-P-D-Y-K-E, Chief Elevator Inspector for the state of Ohio.
Okay, if Mr. Burge and Mr. Booth and Mr. Updike would stand, raise your right hand. Susie, would you administer an oath? I think, Susie, are you muted?
There you go.
I can hear you now.
Hear me?
Can hear you now. Couldn't hear you administer the oath, though.
Okay, because I could hear you guys. Would
Okay.
you each raise your right hand, please? Do each of you swear or affirm the testimony you will give today will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, and then before we do get started, our fire official member is not present today. The appointment expired and there hasn't been a reappointment yet, so he is not with us. I assume, Mr. Burge, you're willing to proceed in front of a board of 4?
Yes, we are.
Okay, Mr. Updike.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Burge, you have the floor.
I think Charles was going to kind of recap real quickly first, and then I can talk after that.
I thought,
okay.
yeah, no, that's fine. I thought that might be the case. Go ahead, Chip.
Yeah, the owner is seeking a variance not to exceed the maximum permitted rise on a LULA, which is a limited use, limited application elevator. Per the A17-1 code, the maximum rise is 25 feet. The proposed lift height for this project is 31.5 feet. And I thought it was important to understand that limited use, limited application LULA elevators provide vertical transportation for people with physical disabilities. Is also recognized that able-bodied people will also use LULA elevators. The code restricts the size, the capacity, the speed, and the rise limits of the use of this type of elevator to lessen the chance of misuse, overcrowding, freight handling, and to avoid compliance with more strict building code requirements such as stretcher, cab size, and fireman's recall. This location and the office type uses of this lift can lead to overcrowding or overloading potentials and probable entrapments. LULA elevators are not intended for multiple passengers, material handling, deliveries, or rescue assistance. And I have no objections with the conditions that the local building department approves. And we have the proper signage with no freight and signage stating as well, attendant operated only.
And Susan has provided the board, at least with me, but probably the other members, with the December 10th. Well, that would be the, do we have, so is the CBO, yeah, the summit, is that Chris Randall's, the CBO? We have that. That's dated
Yes.
December 10th. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, very well. Any questions of members of the board of Mr. Updike before we hear from Mr. Burge?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Brad.
I mean, you said it's only it's attendant operated, so people can't just use it on their own? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, typically Lula elevators are back behind the scene, if you will, and only the people that need to use it know where it's at. I feel like this one's more in the open. And what I mean by attendant operated, as long as there's a monitor of the elevator, so I don't want the general public just using this thing for joy rides, if you will, when they're able-bodied people that can use the steps.
How do you enforce that? How do you enforce that? I mean,
it's just caution signage that will keep the UPS guy out, things like that, deliveries and things like that. I'm trying to avoid that type of thing of overloading of the lift.
because you have like 94 people that work in this place. At least that's what the documents have.
No, it's not that large.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they could key operate it or something like that, but obviously I don't want to deter the people that need this lift from using it. It's more to deter the people that don't need it, and that's the only purpose of the sign. You know, there is no elevator police. So it's a sign that say, hey, attendant operated, ask some questions first before you use this lift type of thing.
okay. I'll let Paul.
Chip, I thought you were the elevator police.
I can't be everywhere all the time. No.
Do we want to limit any occupants or anything like that, or just attendant operated only is the only signage that you need?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Just attendant operated, or I mean, they could elaborate. You know, ask the receptionist directions or whatever, something like that. Again, I don't know how this is set up in the building, so I can leave that up. As long as it says attendant operated, I'll leave the rest up to the owner. That makes the flow of the building work for them. It's fine with me.
In that case, it might be necessary, and I will ask the question. I think of the architect once we hear from him, that you know, there may need to be a call button that buzzes the front desk or something like that.
Could be, yes.
Okay, Mr. Burge?
So just so everybody understands, this is a 3-story old mansion with a basement that we're renovating. That's on the National Register of Historic Places, and tucking an elevator into it was difficult enough, even with the Lula. The building is going to be tenanted by one single tenant. That's a not-for-profit, Akron Pregnancy Services. So it's not like it's a multi-tenant building where you would have a lot of people running around and going up to the other floors. So we think that will inherently limit its use. And, you know, there wouldn't be, as Chip mentioned, like the UPS guy wouldn't necessarily need to be on the elevator. He can go to the first floor, drop off whatever's there, and it's all for the same tenant. So I think there's some mitigating factors that probably limit the amount of use on this thing as it is. They do have clients though that are, you know, either handicapped or potentially with strollers, because a lot of them are, you know, mothers with children. So, that was the kind of predicate behind putting an elevator in, and, you know, why we did a Lula. So I just want everybody to sort of understand that. Free for any more questions.
Any further questions, Mr. Burge?
Yes, Mr. Burge, is the access to the Lula from the entrance visible by a receptionist?
Yes and no. People have to go by the receptionist to get in, but they don't necessarily she can't really see the elevator or the entrance to the elevator from where they sit.
All right, so procedurally, they do need to pass a receptionist. If they need to use the elevator, the attendant would be notified. or the receptionist would be notified?
Well, that's correct. And what, as Chuck mentioned, we were going to sign the thing that, that you needed to get in attendance or have, right, have them, let you use it.
Okay, any further questions of Mr. Burge, or for that matter, Mr. Updike?
Yes, let me ask the question, and just for verbiage, if a sign saying elevator is attendant operated only, see reception for access, would that be appropriate?
That would be fine with
Yeah.
me.
I'm okay with that. I mean, that's basically what we talked about. Charles, you're okay with that?
Yes, that's fine with me.
Well, Brad, Neil, any issues?
I guess I have a question. There's no emergency button inside or something if somebody's trapped in there, is that right? Or recall?
There is a phone, there is alarm buttons. The only thing it does not have as far as emergency is phase 1 recall, which would be used for firefighting first.
Okay. Actually, having been trapped in an elevator myself, it's kind of a disconcerting feeling. When you pick up that
phone is
phone,
there.
and you pick up the phone and it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
We had, many years ago, we had 2 lawyers in our law firm that didn't like each other, that got stuck in the elevator for hours together. That's the worst.
Karma.
Yeah, a couple lawyers stuck in elevators, okay with me.
I guess I would support the variance with the conditions with this signage like Paul was talking about.
I'm fine with it, Carl.
Likewise, Paul, I'm fine.
Yes, this variance is conditioned upon signage stating that elevator is attendant operated only. See reception for access shall be posted to the satisfaction of the chief elevator inspector.
Okay, that motion's been duly made. Is there a second?
That's just the conditions. That's not.
Oh, that's the condition. Yeah, we haven't made the motion yet. So, Chip, Mr. Burge, are those, is that verbiage satisfactory?
Yes.
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, now I'd entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For Board of Building Appeals, case number 20-0112, the appellant is Point View Limited for the premises Robinson Mansion Akron Pregnancy Services at 715 East Buckdale Avenue, Akron, Ohio 44305. The appellee is Charles Updike, Chief Elevator Inspector for the state of Ohio, and adjudication order number E2020-66910. I move that the variance be granted, subject to the condition previously read into the record.
Okay, that motion now has been made. Is there a second?
Second, Carl.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the variance is granted on those conditions. Anything further to come in front of the board, Mr. Burge or Mr. Updike?
I'm good.
No,
This is
nothing for
Chip.
me. I'd just like to thank everybody for their time this morning and for looking at this issue for us.
Thank you, appreciate it. Susan, do we have the Brooklyn parties?
No, not yet. We're still waiting on the building official and Kevin Callahan.
Okay, you were a little faint, but I mean, you may not have been talking into the microphone. So we're waiting on the CBO?
Yes, the CBO, and I believe Kevin Callahan. I believe John Waddle is here.
Okay,
Yeah, John's here. Waddell.
okay. But we're waiting on Kevin Callahan, correct?
Yes,
And do we have Mr. Kolskar?
not yet.
Okay, all right.
I will
That's
try to
fine.
reach-
Or we have a light docket today. Let's, Susie, we'll go off the record for just a second. Anybody needs to use, pardon me?
Okay.
Sure,
Okay.
we could do minutes if you want.
Yeah, we could do that. Let's stay on, Susie, real quick.
Okay.
I would entertain a motion. The last time we met was the 4th. And well, we have minutes that have been circulated. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes from our hearings on December 4th?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the minutes for our December 4th hearing have been approved. We probably don't want to establish February dates yet, but we could.
Yeah, I'm not ready for that.
Okay, then let's, we'll go off the record for just a second.
You want to do
Do what?
compensation?
We haven't completed our day.
Oh, okay.
Look, I think we could probably do that. I think it would relate back to the end of the hearing. I would entertain a motion to approve our preparation and compensation for appearing today on December 14th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we stand to be compensated for our efforts today. We'll go off the record now.
Hello,
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Kevin Callahan.
Oh, thank you.
We've been watching, we just couldn't get in. It was set up, yeah, set as a live event, so that's okay, I'm on.
In order also to mute or unmute your phone, you'll hit *6.
Susan, what's the status? Hey, Susan, what's the status? Do you know? Let me do this, and I don't obviously don't hear Susan.
Kevin Callahan's on.
Right,
Mr.
okay.
Chair,
Yeah.
Ms. Steer is muted, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is Mr. Kolskar on?
No, he's calling in. I just hung up the phone with him.
Okay, we'll wait.
Everyone.
Hi, Dave Colstar here.
Okay, great, Mr. Kolskar. Good morning. Okay, let's go back on the record, Susie. Okay, we're going to call the next case on our docket, which is case number 220-0134. It's a Brooklyn adjudication matter, and it deals with the premises known as the Ruin Transport Build-Out located in that jurisdiction. That jurisdiction's adjudication number is noted on the docket. I'd have an introduction. I'd ask for an introduction of the parties, beginning with Mr. Waddell and Mr. Callahan. I'll do the same with the CBO. We'll have an oath administered, and I'll explain a dynamic on our board population today and get the consent to move forward. Mr. Waddell, would you enter your appearance, please?
Yeah, good morning. I'm John Waddell, W-A-D-D-E-L-L, with Urbach Waddell Architects, the architect for the project.
Thank you. Mr. Callahan?
Yes, Kevin Callahan with Brooklyn, Premier Brooklyn LLC. We're the owners of the building.
Okay, Mr. Kolskar?
Hi, Dave Colstar, K-U-L-C-S-A-R, Building Commissioner for the City of Brooklyn.
Okay, very good. If each of you would stand, raise your right hand. Susie, would you administer the oath? She's muted again. Susie, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Can now, but you were muted, so
Yes.
you're still muted.
My goodness, it's not responding. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Will you raise your right hands to be sworn, please? Do each of you swear or affirm that the statement you'll make today will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I
Yes,
do.
I do.
Thank
I do.
Okay, we're a board of 5 under the statute. That's the way we're composed. We're down a member, our fire official. There's a vacancy actually, at least momentarily. So that does change, in theory, the dynamic, because a tie vote, which is more likely with a board of 4 than it is a board of 5. It'd be impossible really with a board of 5. Well, it could be with 2 and 2 and an abstention, I guess. But in any event, the adjudication order would be upheld in that case. But I'm assuming, notwithstanding that, Mr. Waddell and Mr. Callahan, you're comfortable proceeding in front of this board, which is only 4 today?
Yes.
Okay, and same with you, Mr. Kolsar?
I am.
Okay, very good. Mr. Waddell and Mr. Callahan, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you. Good morning. This is John Waddell. We are asking for relief on the sprinkler system.
Mr. Chair, before
Yeah,
we
you-
get,
Right, I remember you wanted to say something. Go ahead, Paul.
that's all right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Paul Began. I do want to put on the record that I do know Mr. Waddell and Mr. Colsar, both the building official and the architect for the appellant. In this case, I used to work for Mr. Waddell, and Mr. Colsar used to be one of the building officials here in the city of Lakewood, where I reside and practice. That being said, it has been more than 3 years since I've worked with either of them. So I just want to put that on the record and make sure that everybody felt comfortable with me proceeding.
Well, I'll ask a question. Any level of discomfort, Mr. Waddell or Mr. Callahan or Mr. Kolsar, of Mr. Began remaining on remaining here to hear the case and deliberate?
Not for me, myself. This is John Waddell.
Okay, Mr. Kolsar.
No objections from me.
Okay, now you have the floor, Mr. Waddell. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We are asking for relief on the sprinkler system for a building at 4650 Tiedemann Road in Brooklyn, Ohio. The building was changed use from an F1 to an S1. It's about a 31,000 square foot building approximately, with 2,000 square feet of office and about a 29,000 square foot shop, garage, warehouse building on the back. We've spent about $445,000 on the building renovation to date, and then site work, because this company uses the property to park trucks. They have 4 people that work in the office and 6 technicians that work in the shop. So there's not a lot of occupants in the building. We have replaced the rooftop exhaust units on the building. There's 5 of them. We are adding a fire alarm system to the building. We just don't feel that the building is less safe than it was before. In fact, we think we're making it more safe by the addition of replacing the fans on the roof and adding a fire alarm system, which this building never had. There are actually 6 exits out of the building, which are all being maintained. We need to add a couple locations of emergency lighting, but then we'll be working with Mr. Kulsar on remedying that. Exit signs are in place. What else can I tell you? There's the project, they took on additional property to get this company into the city of Brooklyn, the property that was owned by the city. So they've been working with the city quite a bit, and they have 41 drivers that work out of this location, but they're not, obviously they're on the road, so they're not in the building too often. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Any questions? Probably lots.
What was the building? I have a question.
Okay.
What was the building used for before?
It was a factory. So we
I mean,
feel
do you know what they made there?
Pardon?
You know what they made?
I looked them up and machine parts. I mean, I couldn't get any specific on them.
Okay.
I know there was a lot more fluids in the building for their equipment and their processes than what's currently in the building now.
And here they're going to be maintaining trucks in the building?
That's correct. Yeah, primarily, they provided a list of what they do there primarily. They don't do a lot of huge overhauls. They do a lot of brakes and coolant, tire replacement, some body work, minor body work, body panel replacement, little interior work. They maintain the cabs, for the drivers, essentially, and the trailers a little bit, light bulb replacement, electronic diagnostics.
Do they store tires on site?
They have a small amount of tires on site.
Okay, any other questions of Mr. Waddell?
Yeah, I have a couple. Carl, is the maintenance area, is that separate from the storage area?
There are a couple of separate storage areas. I'm not exactly 100% sure where they have the tires sitting. The last time I was in there, I didn't even see any tires. So,
well, but you're saying they're going to maintain the tractor. So it's one common area for all.
Correct.
Okay. And what exactly does this company do? Are they a logistics company?
The transportation, yeah.
So they're going to be getting product in and out on a regular basis?
No, they're not that. They don't bring product in there. This is just to maintain their vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not a warehouse of any kind. They don't move product in and out. It's not one of those facilities. It's strictly for the trucks in the parking lot. They park trucks outside with the diesel power, to plug them in was added to that property that they took on. It's really just to keep these drivers on the road.
Is there can they fuel the trucks there?
No,
And what exactly is the hardship for not complying?
well, like I said, we spent about $445,000 on this renovation, and to add another 120 to that, where there's another 26% of what we spent. And it's just a financial hardship and the whole disruption of bringing the water line to the building. It's just the whole process is disrupting to their organization.
Was the total project though is over $1 million, is that right?
That's correct, yeah, for the site work that was done, that was taken on.
The water's pretty accessible, correct? Isn't there
Pardon?
the water is fairly accessible to the building though. Isn't there a hydrant right outside?
On the street, yeah.
John, is there any hot work that happens as far as their repair of their trucks? Any welding or things like that?
They do a little bit